Oh, that's what I was going to start. We
Okay.
talk about the offensive line. It's an entirely new offensive line.
Right.
You don't have a returning starter, although you have some guys that have played.
Right.
On that note, how much have these guys really played? Blake Copeland has. I don't know who else along that line really has played a lot other than spot duty.
Blake started some games for us. Adam West started at UConn last year and played the entire game. Played quite a bit of the game at Houston as well. And played obviously along the way. Andrew Wood played some real minutes out at Tulsa. So those guys probably played the most.
Evan Martin's been on PAT field goal for a couple of years.
Evan Martin has, Maurice Morris has. So a lot of guys have played, but not a significant amount other than those few guys we mentioned.
Coming out of spring, what was your take on that unit?
We have the ability to have a good team, have the ability to have a good offensive line. We just need a lot of work.
Would you say that the size is bigger than it's ever been across the board?
Yeah, I think size is good. Conditioning, we're trying to work through all that right now, which is a tough time of year for big guys. But we got good players. We got as talented guys as we've ever had. They're bigger, they're fast, they're strong. They just hadn't played a lot, and obviously we got to coach them. We got to teach them what the standard is. Right now is not good enough, but we'll get them there.
Can you talk about the challenge of building some chemistry and cohesiveness? I mean, so much of what Navy does involves guys working in concert, knowing what the guy next to them is doing, making sure that they get to the block guy that they have to block. That takes time to develop.
Right, and that's kind of the task of camp. That's what we're trying to do. A lot of these guys have worked together the way we practice with one huddle and two huddle. Most of these guys were in the second huddle, so they've worked together for a year, 2 years. But yeah, definitely that's something we've got to improve upon.
Would you say that there's still some ongoing battles? It looks like Maurice Morris and Parker Wade are still quite dueling at center. I think they share the first team reps. If I would look like today, are you still seeing some battles?
Yeah, I think those two are working at it. I think Parker's got the lead at this point. They kind of went back and forth in the spring. Blake Copeland and Andrew Wood are our tackles, but we've got some young guys that are working hard there.
Jake Hawk, I think, over on the right side.
Jake Hawk is doing well. We've got a young kid, Kendall Wright, that's working hard. At the guards, we've got Evan Martin and Adam West. We've got
Chris Gazelle.
Gazelle's injured right now, and he'll be back soon. But we've got a young guy, Laurent Njiki, who's doing a really good job at it. Is pushing there, and he's playing some center as well. Seth White, who's going to be a junior for us, is working there and doing a good job for us as well. So we've got the numbers. That's not going to be the issue.
Right.
We got to get them playing fast.
First day in pads, what did you see?
We got a lot of work. We got a lot of work to do. We just got a lot of work. We just, it's early in camp and it's too early to analyze stuff. We just got a lot of work to do.
Do you learn more about guys once you put the pads on than maybe you did when you were running around in shorts?
Yeah, I mean, it's football, so you normally see guys hitting and doing all that kind of stuff, so you kind of see who they are. But we're still building our culture, and that takes a long time to do. The heat, the toughness, hitting pads, and this is our culture. We got to be tougher than anybody else, and we got a long ways to go.
You do talk a lot about building the culture, and now is when it happens. Is there anything you could say about how you build that culture? Does it have to come from within, from the veteran players, or does the coaching staff? Kind of talk about how that happens.
Oh, it depends. I mean, obviously, if it comes from within, that's great, but I'm definitely not going to stand around and let you just turn it over to the players. You know what I mean? It's great if it comes from your captains, from your seniors, but I guarantee you I'm going to make sure I keep the standard up. The standard is what it is. There's a certain culture for our standard, and we're just going to keep it at that.
So for the short term, you're in pads pretty much all week. I think you take off Friday or something, but kind of how do you manage that, and how much you hit, etc.? I know we've talked a lot about this.
Yeah, we've talked at length, as a staff. We have to be pad ready, but I want to be fresh game one. We can't be stupid about that. This is a physical game, and you got to learn how to tackle. And so there's just that balance, but we're doing everything we can to simulate tackling, to tackle dummies, tackle on pads, sporadically tackle live. We're just trying to do, as I think you saw at the end, we're just doing a lot of open field tackling,
right.
Try to simulate stuff, because you can't tackle people to the ground for 3 hours.
Right. You hit it and then you let it go.
Well, just getting in angles. Big part of it is getting in good body position, get in and get to where you need to be with leverage. Just being smart about all that.
It seems surprising. It's the first day in pads. There's some guys limping around.
A lot of it's leg stuff. You know what I mean? We got some pulled groins, hamstrings, normal stuff that you have at this time. But we got great training room staff. They'll be ready. We got time, but we also got to press through it. You know what I mean? So it's always the case. If we just jogged half speed, nobody would pull anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we got to go fast, and so it's always the case. And so.
I saw that one of the rule changes involved cut blocking outside the tackle box. Is that something that's going to affect Navy?
No, because we adjust anyway. It's been like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You just stay up. People think all that stuff's going to hurt us, but we just stay up on people's hips anyway. So, every year that they've said something, we just adjust. They've been changing the rules every year, and we still lead the country in least amount of penalties. We know what the rules are. When they tell us the rules, the officials come and tell us. When Terry comes and tells us what the rules are, then we just adjust our commissioner from the AAC. And so it's part of coaching. You got to adjust. You can't say, well, we've always done that. You got to find a way to adjust.